Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to the Marriage is Tougher Than Woodpecker Lips podcast. This is Brian.
And I'm Paul. We'd like to welcome you to a community meant for the men of the world to share our thoughts and perspectives on marriage.
We can learn from each other's experiences and help each other be better husbands. Now, let's get right into the show. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. We had a break for a couple weeks. I think a much-deserved break. But as promised, we are bringing back some fresh content for you. So, we want to welcome the current listeners and new listeners alike. This week, we want to talk about whether or not husbands need security, and if they do, what that might look like, right? I feel like it's different for women than it might be for men, but we're going to hash that out and just bring a couple ideas through the topic as we proceed through this episode.
Yeah, and as always, we just encourage you to continue this conversation outside of whatever space you're listening or seeing it. So if you can hit us up on all of our socials, Instagram, if you want to check out our faces, YouTube, if you want to just hear our voices, any podcast platform, iTunes, Spotify. And we just want, if you have any questions, hit us up on our website. If you'd like to be a guest, there's a form there that you can fill out, and then we can get you on the show. Or if you have topic ideas, you can hit us up on any space there. So let's get in the show.
Yeah. So do you feel like you have security in your marriage?
Absolutely.
Okay. Do you think it's the same for this? Now, this is going to be a weird question, but like kind of broad. Do you feel like it's the same for you and your wife within your marriage? And your question is going to be, well, what do you mean?
That is, he's just throwing a lob. Yeah. So what do you mean?
So do you think the same things make you feel secure in your marriage as, you know, the things that make your wife feel secure?
You know, I would say yes, in a sense, right?
Okay.
Because we talk a lot. So I think it's a collective security for our family is kind of where my brain is going. But I think if we both came to that conversation, 15 years ago when we first got married, that would probably be different. So I can speak from that space, right? Like individually, right? My wife was a single mom before we got married, and I was young and chilling. So I'm in my mid-20s, like living my best life, not having to worry about anything. So I know just off rip, like that was different to really figure out what our goals were to make each other feel safe and seen. And we had those conversations, and it's kind of iterated throughout our marriage. So it was more so, I just wanted to make sure that whoever made the most money, well, all of our money was collectively into a pot because we were both working. And then making sure that everything that needed to be taken care of was taken care of. That's number one, right? We're going to have our house, our cars, our utilities, our food, right? And then anything that, our son needed would be taken care of. And I think that was the baseline to start everything. I knew how to take care of myself, so I never even thought about it. But then being with someone who has a child, and now it's like, oh, like I said before, one of my coworkers said, hey, man, you got InstaFam, like wife, kid, dog, like right there as soon as you're married. And so that becomes a mindset shift for sure. So I don't know if I answered your question, but I'm going to stop talking now.
I think you answered it well, actually, which kind of brought up a secondary point does the outlook or picture of security change over the years? Right, because I feel like you said it was a little bit different before you got married, right? You have less responsibility, right? You add family, which I would argue as soon as you are married, that is instant family. It's just levels to it. As a side note,
I agree.
um, but yeah, like, does the necessity for security deepen, and do the things that make you feel secure um, change, I guess, over time as you progress through your marriage, or you know, does it just immediately change when you say "I do"? Are you building up to that through your relationship to engagement to marriage? Um, Maybe that's a topic for another time, but I feel like it applies.
Yeah, that's deep. I mean, for me, and then I'll toss it all the way back to you to answer your original question. But to me, I feel like something does shift right up, probably a couple days before you say "I do," and then after. It was just different. Like, oh, like, yeah, we're engaged, it's fine, and then it's like, wait a minute, this thing is so real, and I'm responsible for all of this,
Mm-hmm.
and not in a way that she's not responsible, but there's a level of I want to make sure this is taken care of correctly. So
Yeah, I'm just jotting down ownership of responsibility,
yeah,
because I feel like that's heavy, right? Because there's if you truly believe in marriage, I would say the way we do, until that point of saying "I do" and signing the paperwork and all that, right? There's a portion of reality that says, well, I could technically just walk away, right? And so the act of getting married now, it's like, oh, we're locked in. This is a forever thing. And there's a lot of weight to that. But back to my original question. Um, so for me, I feel like men and women view security differently. Okay. And it's funny because I've been catching some of these, podcast clips out there on YouTube and whatnot. And if we want to say it's oversimplified, then, you know, they'll say that, women seek security and men seek status. But I think that status is something that we want to keep secured, right?
yeah,
And well, matter of fact, you want to read the definition before I hop into where my mind's going?
yeah, sure. So Merriam-Webster has a couple different versions of security. The first is the quality or state of being secure, such as freedom from danger, freedom from anxiety or fear, or freedom from the prospect of being laid off. Um, the second one is something given, deposited, or pledged to make certain that the fulfillment of an obligation. And then there's something that secures. So, measure taken to guard against espionage or sabotage, crime, attack, or escape. And lastly, the state of being able to reliably afford or access what is needed to meet one's basic needs. So I know that's a lot, but that's what the dictionary says security is.
Yeah, man. I mean, I think they all hit that first definition. Freedom from danger and fear. I feel like, I don't know, at least in my mind, that to me, it feels like that's something that men on the surface level typically provide for women. Um, right. I'm not really ever so afraid for myself, being in danger, but I
Right.
am often afraid that my wife or children may be in danger, especially if I'm not there. Right. Um, but that's me thinking that I'm providing security for them. That doesn't necessarily make me feel secure, which could probably be argued. But I'm gonna let that go for a moment.
Right. Oh, I missed one. Um, that might play a role. An instrument of investment in the form of a document, such as a stock certificate or bond,
Yeah.
providing evidence of its ownership. So something that you have that proves it's yours,
Mhm.
which in essence is what marriage is.
Right. Right. Which goes to the one definition, the prevention of escape.
Right.
You ain't going nowhere. Um,
Yeah, that's good.
all that to say, I think largely for men, a big piece of them feeling secure, because I do feel that men need to feel secure, is the loyalty piece, right? I want to know that the children that, you know, we have seemed to have get together are mine. Um, and that looks like protection of status in my mind, right? I don't want to go out in these streets and get clowned, right? I don't want to go out here and find out something secondhand that I should have either known about, right? Like you said before we started recording, that gives me the option, right? Um, so like just protection from embarrassment. I want to know that my money is secure, but with that statistic I threw at you earlier, where after divorce, typically the net worth of a woman goes down and the net worth of a man goes up. I feel like that's less important, right? Because like money is typically something you can recover from, and I would argue that for both men and women. But for whatever reason, that is the statistic out there. Um,
I mean,
and
not to tangent on that statistic, but if you go from if there's only one person that works outside the home and the other person works inside the home taking care of the family, if there's a divorce, they have nothing,
mm,
or they're splitting whatever they have, but the thing, the stock options and all that stuff that comes with retirement and stuff generally will go with the person who's working, right? So I could see why that is a generalization, um, if we go from that aspect. Because generally, if there's one party working, it tends to be the husband, um, statistically. And then if you're in a divorce, then you don't have any way to make income at that point. So
yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on how that court order goes,
yeah, it does.
because them judges, they could be far-reaching.
Yeah, but you mean what is net worth, right? So even if someone is paying you what the judge says, or if you split something, if you already have an established job, like it's easier to continue down that path.
Mm-hmm.
But we just tangented. So, what
That's
you
what
were
we do.
saying about status, and I think for me, and when I talk to a lot of guys, right, we just want to be able to make an informed decision. and then we will stand by that decision. So, as far as security for us, we want to know that our wife is behind us and that there's no secrets that we don't know about. In essence, that's what my brain was kind of thinking about. Because as long as we know something, we won't be clowned because we'll have a basis for our decision. But if we're
Mhm.
just thrown into something that we don't know, oh no, do not do that. We will come outside of ourselves quick.
Yeah. Um, so arguably that could be the same for women, right? There's been plenty of stories of men out here with second families and whatnot, and you know, the first family finds out or first wife finds out. Um, so I would say that it's equally important, right? The sharing of information. um, but I think it just goes back to the root, like, and it is a generalization. You know what the primary factors of relational motivations are.
Yeah.
Mhm. So yeah, man,
But I guess my question to you is, what does security look like specifically for you? Not generalizing, not saying what men are, since your position is men need security as well. So what
Mhm.
does that mean? How do you feel secure in your marriage?
Yeah. So I feel secure in my marriage in a lot of different ways. Some of the points that you made, right? Being able to be heard, feeling respected, and not just heard, but when I am heard, that it actually means something, right? If I have an opinion on a matter or a direction that I feel the family should go, that it is actually considered. Um, and for me, I feel more times than not. Hmm, so how to put this? I feel like more times than not, it. I want to go the direction that I feel is appropriate. Right now, that is going to take some conversation and some considering on both parts. And I could even say that my original direction might change after said conversation. Um, but I guess that's to say I want to feel like a leader. Um, the loyalty piece means a lot to me, which I think is why I kind of brought that up. Um, I want to know that you're mine. I want to know that our vows were and are real. Right. Um, yeah. So the protection of status piece, I think, is what that looks like for me in my marriage. But then there's also the piece of relational security.
That's good. I feel like someone needed to hear that.
I don't know who, but no. Um, yeah, man, I don't know what else I have for this. I think I got out everything that I wanted to bring up on the topic. Is there anything you would like to add?
I think that because this is not something that I've ever put some brain power to,
Mm-hmm.
right? So to think about what security means and how that motivates us as husbands, right? We might not see it as security, but I feel like our primal, just being a human in the world from our ancestors, is we have to be secure, right? Because that's how we live.
Mm-hmm.
We have to be safe, keep everyone safe, keep our community safe, and we have to make sure we have food so that we can live. And I think that underlining current is in the back of our minds just from natural selection and moving on. So I think it's good to think about things that we might peg as, and broad generalization again of, an emphasis for a certain group, like women only need this or men need this more, and think of how does that play out for me as a husband, and what are the underlying motivations. And that'll help you know why you strive for what you strive for and why you go after what you go after. And that can make, you can explain that to your wife and others when you make certain moves. And I think that'll just allows you to get closer with your spouse.
I agree, man. Um, as I'm thinking a little bit more about it, I just wanted to say, one hand washes the other. So if there are women out there, that's a little bit too broad, but I will say it anyway. If there are women out there and you're noticing some changes in your husband, um, where he might be retracting, this is just one channel of possibility. But if you feed him security, men will instinctively want to protect what they feel they have, right? So if you're wanting to be protected from danger, from fear, anxiety, if you're wanting him to provide money for basic needs, protect the children, if you're offering the things that make him feel secure and vice versa, like I said, one hand washes the other. We will typically do do everything in our power to protect what we feel is ours, right? And that's not, like we own you, right? But you are our wife, you are our children. This is our home, this is our money, and we want those things to flourish. So we will pour our resources into said things in order to make that happen and to protect them.
Yeah, I mean that's it. If you have any questions or comments about what we talked about, please feel free to, DM us on Instagram, hit us up on our website, marriagestougher.com. Just search any social media platform with Marriage is Tougher, and you'll be able to find us. And let us know, what do you think about security? Do you think there's a difference in men and women? What makes you feel secure? And anything else we missed, please just hit us up so we can connect, keep this conversation going. And until next time, we'll see you later.
Peace.